Hey, we're gonna go out to lunch, but guess what? No, that's not gonna work. You need to put pants on.
Let's go get pants. Let's go get pants.
All right. The time has finally come. It is the last day that we're in this super pimped out rental car. I heard this is actually like a $90,000 SUV, not a $70,000 one. That's what my friend told me, that he knows about these types of things. And it took like 2.5 weeks to finish our van, not the like 3 days. So the good news is we had this awesome vehicle. Oh crap, Cammie's ready to go. She's following me. How do I get out of here? I don't want to crash this thing. We had this super awesome vehicle this entire time. And the insurance company originally estimated $600, and that's what they told us that they were willing to give us. But the repair cost $2,100, which they totally took care of, but it just kind of sucks that they like totally lowball you. And if we would have just accepted that check and been like, sweet, we'll just take the cash and deal with this later, we would have been shortchanged like $1,600. So I'm glad we got the van fixed. They replaced the tire and all that, so it's all in good working order. The kids went out with their grandparents for lunch today, so Cammie and I are gonna go out to lunch just to take a break from Appalachian Trail planning and to just to celebrate because we can. This is my first time driving this car in 2.5 weeks. It feels like it has a flat tire, but I think it's actually just I'm not used to driving a shitty car. Like, it doesn't turn as much. While the kids are out, still at lunch, we wanted to take a moment and talk to you about 2 parenting issues that are happening like in real time right now. Even though we're packing for the Appalachian Trail and have all this crazy stuff going on, the parenting doesn't stop.
Yeah.
There's no pause button. The first thing has to do with Rainier. So Rainier just turned 2, as you guys know, and we're trying something new with him that we've never tried before, and it makes me a little bit nervous, but mostly to talk about because it actually feels right. And this is it. So he's like hitting now, like not violently, but he's just like,
yeah,
it's not softly either. He'll hit you on the face.
Yeah.
And what we're telling the kids, this happens like so much, that we're telling the kids, just hit him back.
Exact way he hit you. Like, don't make it harder.
And I don't think his really hurt. Like, it's like, yeah. You know, but it's a little bit shocking to get it like right back.
Right.
So the reason why I'm nervous is for 2 reasons. One is like what I would consider like how I was raised, like what I was taught the Bible says. And the other is like going out in public and what people are gonna say. Because I think people are like, oh no, you shouldn't be like, you're teaching kids to be violent, which just sounds so like shallow to me. That sounds really dumb. The kid's gonna hit no matter what. Like this actually like reduces that, at least for the time being. And I don't think this is like a long-term parenting strategy.
Yeah. It seems like at the stage he's at, this, I mean, we've had 5 other 2-year-olds before him, and it seems like this might be the best way for him to understand the consequence of hitting at the stage he's at. Now, maybe by 3 or 4, we can have other methods of consequences that I don't think we would have to do this.
Or we wouldn't have to.
Or, yeah, that's true.
Because the alternative is nothing else. At least nothing else that works. I mean, there's the whole like, oh, let's not hit little baby. That doesn't work with him. Like, he doesn't get that.
Or you like spank because they're hitting.
I think we could make the parents the bottleneck and be like, okay, if he hits you, you come to us and we'll do it. But we trust our kids. Like, they're not doing it out of anger. They're not gonna like clock him to try and get even. In fact, they're like afraid to do it because we've trained them like never hit anyone. Hitting is so bad. But we're like, it's just like so much easier and better if he learns like, hey, if I do this, it's gonna hurt you and you're gonna hurt me, and so I shouldn't do this right now. Which kind of leads to the second reason why this is hard is because we were taught like, okay, the Bible says like you need to have mercy and compassion and turn the other cheek literally and just like take it, bend over. And when a toddler is like terrorizing everyone, I think we're taught, okay, we should just take it, and therefore we're teaching him compassion, or mercy or grace or all these fancy words. But like, I actually think like the basis for grace or mercy is justice. Like justice is saying, you know, there is like an eye for an eye. Like that's actually important, but it doesn't end there. Like that's not the end of the lesson, but you can't skip that lesson either. You can't jump straight to grace. And I feel like I have that tendency with my kids to be like, okay, so-and-so did this, like just forgive them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, forgiveness is important, but before we even teach forgiveness, I feel like we have to teach fairness and justice and what's right.
Because then it makes actually forgiveness a really big deal.
And grace. Like,
grace.
Because grace is like when you should deserve something bad, you don't get it. You get something good instead. Mm-hmm. But if you actually just get your wires crossed and you think you actually deserve something good because you did something bad, it's not an actual understanding or appreciation of grace. So we're trying that out. I like it. I think it's kind of fun.
I feel like it's been pretty simplistic. I mean, he's just I think he started this like 6 months ago when he started hitting like this. And I don't feel like I'm dealing with it as much as I remember dealing with it with especially 7.
I kind of feel guilty, like we're taking some like shortcut cheater out. But I'm just like, you know, this is what's going to happen to you in the real world. Like, why not do this in a safe environment? Because really what we care about the most is his relationships with us and his siblings. Mm-hmm. And if he ends up being a spoiled brat, and we see these kids, and our kids have had these aspects where they're just like wailing on kids or destroying people around them, no one wants to be around them. So that's not good for the relationship. Mm-hmm. So even instructing or allowing our kids to, if like he hits, to hit him back, he like learns, okay, there's a line there, I crossed it. Mm-hmm. You know, as adults, we use more sophisticated ways to communicate that.
Right. Usually.
Okay, that's our experiment. What do you think? Have you tried something like this? Does it sound scary to you? Let's move on to parenting experience number 2 right now, which is, I need to go get this object lesson for this.
I want to share this quote that I got on my tea bag. It says, "Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to try." And I feel like, for me, this is a really good message for me to listen to right now with the AT, because there's a lot of people that think we're crazy and we shouldn't be doing it. And then there's voices in my own head that's saying like, you're crazy, what if you fail? Meaning, you know, I don't even know what that means, like not completed or I'm not sure what. It's just encouraging because I actually believe that. I believe that if we set out and try, then we've already won in a way.
Sponsored by Good Earth Tea. Okay, so this was Rainier's birthday present from me. 28 fluid ounces of chocolate milk. This morning, I walked down. I just put it like that.
Okay.
I walked down and I opened the fridge. I saw this chocolate milk and the lid was on like this. See that? It's like a little bit wonky. And it felt a little on the light side. So something
fishy was going on.
Like, I could be like, well, it's no big deal. To me, it is a big deal. So we talked to all our kids and we asked them, did any of you have Rainier's chocolate milk? And all 5 of them said, nope. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go with my gut on this. Someone had it. Someone's lying. So we sat everyone down and we made a big threat about not being able to go out to lunch. And still no one fessed up. And then I'm thinking, like, maybe I'm wrong. But I actually don't think I am. Mm-hmm. And Cammie and I through this whole process, we were talking back and forth, and we thought, oh, we think it was this kid. And then actually it changed. We're like, no, actually we think it was this kid. And we are going to follow up with one of the children. It's one of the younger ones who we think it was, because there has been some sneaking going on lately. And we teach our kids that sneaking is a big deal, because it creates distance in relationship. So anytime there's like secrets and double lives, especially if it involves like stealing basically, then in the long run, it's that child choosing, it's not our choice, but it's their choice to create a barrier in the relationship. And that's a bummer for us. But here's what I realized in this whole thing is that it'd be so easy to just drop this and be like, it's not a big deal. But as a kid, I snuck a ton. I snuck blueberries, Twinkies, cupcakes, professional wrestling. I snuck, if it was there, I snuck it. I stole a ton. And while it sucked getting busted and caught, although I was pretty smart and good, and I didn't get caught very often.
You mean good at not getting caught?
Exactly. So I was never good, but good at not getting caught. I wish I would have got caught more. And I wish I would have got kind of like called out in my younger years, because as I got older, this habit of sneaking or stealing didn't go away.
And it got bigger.
It got bigger. I'm going to keep on pursuing this with my children, specifically with this. And I think, Cammy, I have an idea of who it is now. And we're going to go talk to that child, and maybe we're wrong. And if we're right, I don't know what I'm going to do. That pressure between letting it go and being like, whatever. I feel like we're actually fighting for the child. If the child's anything like me, which I think they are.
They're half you.
Then I would have rather been caught in hindsight.
It's easy for me to just want to let this go. It's not a big deal. I feel the immediate pain of the kid or kids that they feel. I think Ben, he's able to see the path that this leads down a lot easier, and I think it's good that you're fighting for them in this way. So the kids had this lunch planned with my parents. He said hey, if we don't figure this out, you guys aren't going to lunch. And so then a lot of things go through my mind, but I'm feeling a bunch of anxiety because I don't want to let my parents down. Our relationship's already kind of strained. I don't want the kids who aren't guilty of this to have to be punished for someone who did it. But then there's this other side, which is Ben's fighting for this kid. And I actually really do appreciate it. But I was trying to figure out, is there another way we can do this without having to sacrifice this lunch? And they ended up going to the lunch. But if I was solo parenting, there would be less getting to the bottom of things than now that I have Ben parenting with me. So I appreciate that strength in you. Nice.
This is the camp stove we're going to be using for probably 6 months. So I'm just checking it and testing it, making sure that all the lines are clear and that it's actually going to work once we get out there. footage you just saw was just of the brand new drone. I just tested it out using 3 batteries and tried to figure out some of the new settings that it has. But I think it's gonna be cool, and I think it's gonna work on the trail to get some footage. We're not allowed to film on the actual trail, but I think filming in the woods or in some of the towns will be a fun thing. Today has been a very hectic day. This is what our house looks like. I think it stressed Cammie out, so she went upstairs and smoked a cigar in the middle of the day. We have camping gear from previous trips. We got Ziploc bags right there. We got this powdered peanut butter. I'm not sure if I even want to deal with that anymore. Books and maps and more stuff. We have beef jerky and fuel and summer sausage. Other mountaineering gear I'm trying to figure out what to do with. We got some cooking stuff in there also. We got these freeze-dried meals, which we've had in our basement forever. Not sure what I'm gonna do with that. Tonight was the last night of our Tuesday night kind of like teaching and documentary series thing that we've been watching with the kids. We've been watching this like 12 disc series that's like, I don't know, an hour and a half a disc or so. So it's taken us like, I don't know, 20 or 30 weeks to get through, and we finished the last one today of this guy that was our tour guide in Israel, and he was teaching about the Bible and the hidden face of God. And it's just crazy because after 20 or 30 weeks wrapping that up, it really feels like this epic conclusion, and that's what a lot of our life feels like right now. We're just like wrapping things up. Tonight is Tuesday night, which means it's my guys' night, and this is the last one we're doing, possibly like ever, but at least for now. So I heard there's gonna be some fancy bourbon, and it's I don't know, I love these nights, but it's kind of weird and sad just knowing this is gonna be the last one for a while.
So last week was 450. This week is
1,200.
what? Are you
You're talking. Now we're in Chase's reign. Chase is no longer embarrassed to be seen with us.
Oh my God.
yeah. Finally I can post about one of our nights. Jeez. It's like, I've been waiting. God, it's taken what, 2 years? Jeez.
That's a $1,200 bottle.
Maybe we really should have catered.
Ever since you bust out that
I'm gonna finish my my dollar beer first. So when camping out isn't a story, you know you're with
camping out in a liquor store.
parking lot. It's not doesn't even constitute as a real story. Then
One of a few. Nah.